everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Nonprofit Podcast, where we are creating a platform for nonprofit leaders to mastermind and share their most vulnerable lessons as well as experience to help each other grow. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Lana Hann. She is the executive director of the Gilda's Club's Simcoe, Muskoka. Welcome, Lana.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here, Cherry.
Well, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Sure. I'm happy to be here. And so I have well over a decade of experience in the nonprofit sector. And when I look at my career, I've been very, very fortunate because I have worked for organizations whose mission have personally resonated with me. So I lost somebody very close to me from mental health. We couldn't use the word suicide at that time, but it was someone I lost with suicide, and thought if there's a way that I can take this and help other people. I had a background in social work and business, and I got relocated. My husband got relocated to Ottawa, and I thought, well, if a way to give back and get involved in the community. So I found Causeway Work Center at the time. Yeah. That's where my nonprofit experience really started. And there I was responsible for creating a program to help people with mental health and addiction challenges start their own business. And Cherry, I have to say, every client that I helped was part of my healing process. And I didn't talk about that experience, but it was just using that experience really helped me and helped me heal. And I got involved in the Ottawa community. I was the board chair at Amethyst Women's Addiction Center. I started volunteering there and became the co-chair. And then my mother got diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh. So she went through from the day she was diagnosed, it was about a year, and she became terminal. And I was very fortunate because I was able to take some time off work and take care of her and be a caregiver. And while I was doing that, she lives in Toronto, and she went into hospice. And it was my opportunity to be a daughter instead of a caregiver when she went into hospice. And I remember thinking to myself, if there's a way to take what I learned and then to give that back to the PSWs and the nurses that really helped my family, that's what I had aspired to do. So years later, there was a posting for the Director of People and Corporate Services at Hospice Care Ottawa. And I met with the executive director at the time. Her name was Lisa Sullivan. And she was fantastic. And I just felt a deep connection to her. As soon as I walked into the organization, felt like I belonged. And there I was responsible for finance, human resources, reporting, labor relations, and wanted to implement psychological safety into the organization as well, because we know healthcare workers, it's hard, very hard. And then from there, I was taking a very proactive approach to my health and went to go see my doctor. And my doctor said, well, they're reducing the age for women to get screened for mammograms from 50 to 40. You're taking a proactive approach to your health. Why don't you have your first mammogram? So when I did, I got the news the next day that there was a suspicious lesion. So then my world started to spin. And then I found out that I had the same diagnosis that my mother had. And the only person that I was close to that had cancer was my mother. So I thought that trajectory would be the same. And so I was very fortunate at that time to find the Ottawa Cancer Foundation and got involved in their programs and went to my first support group there. And I tell this story often. When I walked in, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do because it was admitting that I had cancer. And that's one of the scariest words. And so when I walked in, there was a lady sitting on one side of the table. And for me, she resonated strength. And there was a lady sitting on the other side of the table who resonated kindness. So I figured I would sit right in between the two. And that's where I found my community. And that made such a difference to me. I got involved in all of their programs that I could. And it was important to be around people that understood what I was going through, because you have your friends and your family and they're very supportive. But having someone who gets it, they might be, further along in getting treatment, and they can give you just an idea of their experience. And so when I finished my treatment, I was reflecting on what to do next. And I was meeting with my friend who resonated strength. By the way, she was in the military. So I picked up on that. And we were having breakfast and we're talking about, well, what do you want to do next? And I thought, if I can take everything that I learned from the Ottawa Cancer Foundation and bring it to another community, that would be my dream job. So months later, there was a posting for Gilda's Club for the executive director. And so I brought the posting down to my husband and I said, look at this. This is the perfect job. This just brings everything together for me. And he said, put your hat in the ring. And then I had to tell him it was in Barrie. And when I said it, yeah, from Ottawa, because we were living in Ottawa for 12 years. And when I said it was in Barrie, he said, well, I'm not moving to Barrie. And I said, well, I'm just going to throw my hat in the ring and see what happens. So it moved very quickly and I got the position and I'm living in Barrie and he's here too.
Happy ending.
Happy ending.
Ever after ending. So that's good.
So that's what I mean. It's just been I'm very privileged in my career, and there's other organizations. I worked at Pleo to help parents whose children were going through mental health. I was the operations manager there, Shepherds of Good Hope, and just really these missions that really resonate with me. And, I think I take all that experience and I bring it here. At Pleo, we won Best Workplace for Mental Health.
Yep.
So I'm looking at bringing those practices here. It's really important that staff feel taken care of. So then it's hard work. So then they come and they have the energy to be able to help those people that need it.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing your personal story. That's quite a journey, and so sorry that you have to go through what you're going through.
Yeah, don't apologize, because I think I'm grateful for the experiences because it got me to where I am. Hard as it was, but now those experiences allowed me to give back.
That's absolutely right. Now, you have quite a breadth of experience in terms of your roles in different nonprofit organizations. And if I have to look back at your earlier experience, what got you into operations altogether? And like you started your operations role from many, many years ago, and operation is not an easy role.
No,
let me just mention that it is hard, really hard at times, right? Because you're balancing delivering programs, but then also the stakeholders need, but then also balancing the time, the resources that you have, because the team may be something that you have to balance, and then also the budget as well. So what got you into operations to begin with, and how do you manage to balance so many chess pieces all at the same time?
Well, that's a great question.
It seems like you're natural at it, because every single role is somewhat related to operations. Some are directly called operations manager. Some are program manager. Some are office manager. But you got and even the hospice care Ottawa is director, people and corporate services. So you have so many heads that it's deeply ingrained in operations. How do you even get started to be interested in it, and how do you learn to balance everything all at once?
Such a great question. And so while you're explaining that, I was thinking my very first job out of university was with Bell Mobility. And I worked with the locations were independently owned. And I worked with this gentleman, and it was kind of my very first professional job. Yep. And I was operations manager.
Wow, from day one.
So it's what I knew right from the beginning, and having to do different pieces. And my background is in commerce. So, learning finance, human resources, and marketing, and bringing all that together. And I've worked with very nimble teams. So you have to be able to roll up your sleeves and do different things. And I remember my first supervisor saying to me, actually, while I was in university, I worked at a Bell Mobility store. I was a sales rep. And I went back to the manager and I said, somebody wants to talk to you. A customer wants to talk to you outside. And he said, why does he want to talk to me? I said, because you're the manager. And he said, well, I hired you. You're the manager right now. So you take accountability for it.
Oh,
So I was
wow.
like, yeah. And so I had some choice words that I was thinking in my head as he was sitting back there, what I viewed as doing nothing, but he was. But that was the opportunity to take ownership and responsibility. So I was grateful for that. And then another position, the operations position I was in at Bell, he would say, I'm paying you to get a job done, and we just figure it out. And that's just what I've had to do. You just figure it out. And then there was, when I was working at the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, it was the same thing. The CEO, I think he was at the time, gave me the keys, and I was operations manager for different entities in the location. And he said, here's the keys, it's yours, figure it out. So it's just
Figuring it out.
what I had to figure out.
Wasn't it scary though? Like there must be like so much uncertainty that you have to deal with, because like literally when you don't know, you have to ask so many different questions to so many different staff members to figure out how it has always been doing or how it has always been done. And then from then on, you take ownership for a couple of months before you can implement any changes, right? That period of time is always a challenge, no?
It is a challenge, and I've taken it where, I'll try to learn as much as I can about the organization even before starting an interviewing role, look at the financial statements, the annual reports, because I want to go in with a running step. For example, with this position, when I had my first interview, it was in person. So I drove from Ottawa to Barrie, stayed the night, had the interview. I have to say, when I walked in the door here, it felt like a warm hug, because that's just the type of organization it is. And then I got a call that I had to put together this presentation and answer some questions. So I really dug deep into understanding the organization, and it was my first 30 and 60 days on the job, what I would do. So it's about 20 pages that I presented, and I did it as if, because at the time I was recovering from my own cancer experience. And so there's fatigue that sets in. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this for the week, and then that will determine if I have the energy to go back to work. And so I did that, put everything I possibly could into it, and realized, yes, I do have the energy and I can do this. So it's just taking the time to really learn and explore, and even during off hours, learning what we can do better.
Is there that's amazing. Is there a specific book that you recommend, like new nonprofit professionals that are stepping into the operational role, that would help them prepare? Or like a few weeks ago, I was talking to someone who's deep into the association world, also nonprofit. And one of the books that he recommended, highly recommended, is the book called First 90 Days. I don't know if you've ever heard of First 90 Days, but
Yeah.
you mentioned 30 days, 60 days, and I know that like that is 30, 60, 90 days. They talked about like what you would, in the book, they talk about like you need to find out what type of organization it is in terms of stages, and sometimes the organization is going downhill, sometimes it's growing, and sometimes it's stagnant. And so you have to find out what it is, so then you can make the impact accordingly. You also need to find out how to work with your peers, as well as in your situation, it's the board. So is there something that helped shape you to come up with even your 30, 60, 90 days, and how did you prepare for the presentation for that interview? I would be curious about that, because it's a jump from being a director to executive director too.
Well, I was the director of people and corporate services at hospice. So actually, I didn't see it as much of a jump, because this is a small organization. We have 6 staff right now, whereas Hospice Care Ottawa, that was 135 staff, unionized, 3 locations. We're 1 location, 5 staff. So not a big jump. It may have been, when I think of the workload, it may have been on par. Maybe hospice was probably more than what this is, but I'm really rebuilding and expanding this organization. That's my focus. And what has really helped me in this role so far is my experience at Ottawa Cancer Foundation, because that was kind of my gold star, if you will, on the standards of services that benefited me that I want other people to benefit. So since I've been here, we've expanded. We're going to be expanding our hours in June. Yeah. So when I started the organization, we're open 9 to 4 here. And we would have the psychosocial supports for people touched by cancer. So if people don't know what that means, we provide 5 levels of support. So we provide support groups, networking groups. We have education workshops. So we have people from the community come in and talk about different things that would help people with cancer. So it could be, a financial planner. It could be a pharmacist to help people understand their medication. It could be a chiropractor, all different things. We had somebody from cybersecurity come in to help protect our members to understand the benefits of cybersecurity. So there's the education piece. And then we have we have movement classes. So that's your soft yoga, that's Qigong classes, that's meditation classes, that's strength training as well. And then there's the creative expressions. So we have card making classes, we have the art therapist that comes in. We had somebody that did our fascinators. So this wasn't done in the workshop, but today I mentioned earlier, we're having our high tea. So this was made for our high tea event. So we have community so people can come together and learn from one another, and we have those social programs.
That's amazing. So how do you're expanding the hours? Obviously the cost is going to not substantial, but there's still human resources cost, right? Even though you rented the space, the hard cost is already there. But so how do you manage increasing that program and then balancing the budget both sides?
Oh, that's a great question. Actually, what we're doing before we were providing one-on-one counseling here. And that's very important. I know in Ottawa, one-on-one counseling, there is a wait list. I think there is 3 to 6 month wait list for people impacted by cancer. Barrie's different. So in Barrie, where our location is, we're conveniently located right across the street from the hospital. And I had met with people at the hospital and learned that they were providing one-on-one counseling. And so they receive funding where we don't receive government funding. We're driven by donations and our events specifically. So if they're receiving funding to provide one-on-one counseling and they didn't have a wait list, it didn't make sense for us to continue to have one-on-one counseling. So we were able to take that money that we would save there and then put it into hiring facilitators such as an art therapist and music therapist and have that programming in the evening. So it's actually costing us a little bit less because we're having outside experts and facilitators while enhancing the programming.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're not cutting any service because the hospital across the street is able to provide the same service, but then you are enhancing that experience and adding programming specific to the cancer patients. That's amazing. Like really having those conversations and finding out what you can do within your operation to complement each other.
Exactly. And that's what it is. And I want to stress that because in the nonprofit sector, I find some organizations or some leaders, really hold on to things tight because funding is tight and, we do this. But I don't think you're serving the community in the best possible way you can unless you're collaborating with other organizations and seeing what they do and can they bring the services in here. So that's what I'm looking at doing, building my network in the Simcoe, Muskoka area and bringing those experts in. For example, we used to provide grief and loss counseling. Well, I learned that one of the funeral homes, they provide grief and loss counseling. We have a beautiful facility here. We have 10,000 square feet. I have a picture actually.
That's big. 10,000 square feet is big.
Yeah, we have 10,000 square feet and our rooms are just so cozy. And my thought is when someone finishes treatment, I know from my own experience, do they really want to go back to the hospital to get treatment, to get counseling? Or if you go through a loss, do you really want to go back to the funeral home where, your loved one was? Probably not. But if you walk into somewhere like our space, it's very, very welcoming. So bringing those outside facilitators in here to be able to provide that support instead of people going there where people would feel more at home. So I'll show you a picture. This is just our new calendar that we are working on. So this is our
Wow.
space. So it's quite beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, so this is our community room, and then we have for our movement classes. And if you can see here, those are for support groups, or we could have one-on-one counseling there. So being able to bring the community into the clubhouse.
That's amazing. So if I may ask you this, so with these programs for counseling program, you're bringing outside expert coming in and you're collaborating, you're using your space, but they are also contributing the experts, sort of forming a partnership. Am I understanding
Exactly.
right? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that is amazing. It's win-win-win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation. So what I find, Ottawa's like this too, but what I find in the Simcoe Muskoka area, it's a very caring community and people are very connected and they want to help. Same thing with Ottawa. And I was at my first few months, I was invited for a Czech presentation at the Barrie Colts. It's a junior hockey club. And so I was there and it was hockey fights cancer. And we were being presented with a check. So it's on the ice. And there was a lady standing beside me and three of us were getting checks that night from the Barrie Colts. And so I asked the lady beside me where she was from. And she was from an organization. She was on the board for an organization called Candlelighters. So Candlelighters provides support to parents whose children are diagnosed with cancer. And I said to her, well, where are your meetings held? And I'm learning about the community. And she said, well, we have them in a library. And I thought, why aren't you having them here? So bringing that in. We also have a space called Nookie Land. So for those who aren't familiar, why the name Gilda? So it was Gilda Radner, and she was the first employee of Saturday Night Live. She was married to Gene Wilder. She went through her own cancer experience and she got involved in a wellness community. And the wellness community was for people who, you'd come in, not necessarily talk about cancer, but it was for people that just understood, they were going through the same experience. So when she passed, her psychotherapist, Jonah Bowl, and Gene Wilder got together and they started Gilda's Club. So there's 170 locations of Gilda's Club or cancer support communities worldwide. And Gilda's Club, the name, we are the only physical location in Simcoe, Muskoka. So there is another location, it's a virtual location, but we're the only physical location. So it's quite special to be part of it.
100%, yeah. Your experience, how does it shape, you have your story and how you step into this role is very personal. And you also mentioned with your experience at Pleo, an organization based in Ottawa, that you guys won the employer award, right? So you have that experience. So how do you bring that? How do you see that happen? How do you, what do you think that we are nonprofit in general underestimating when it comes to supporting people?
Do it's the small things that really make a difference. I tell staff, my colleagues, I say my colleagues, say to my colleagues that, we're people first. Yep. So if there's something that's going on, then you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I firmly believe when you support people, when they're employees, when they're in a vulnerable situation, then you just strengthen the organization. So I was very fortunate when I was at Hospice Care Ottawa at the time, that executive director, Lisa, she was a nurse. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, she said, do you need me to go to your appointments with you?
Oh, wow.
And just how amazing is that? Right?
Yeah.
And so just treating people and giving them the tools that they need so that they can show up in their roles. And I'm very fortunate here. Since I've been here, we've had change in staff. So we're all a new team. So we a brand new team. So we're all coming together where it's like and we've all been touched by cancer in one way or another, where we've had our own personal diagnosis or a family member. So we're all coming from this with the lens of we are a team, we're collaborative, and we're committed to the mission. So very fortunate that I have colleagues where, we can do that, and it doesn't really feel like a hierarchical structure. It's a team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always, it always makes it easier when everyone share the same common goal and have worry less about their own ego, for lack of better terms, like
Yeah.
or insecurity, depending on how you look at it, and then
Yeah.
come together and serve the common goal of the organization, the purpose of the organization. Now, may I ask you, as a leader myself, I run my own business, I am also a leader.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find it challenging while like balancing the act of supporting the team member and also meeting the goal of the organization. Now, with nonprofit, we have a purpose. With Gilda's House, we have a purpose of serving, like say, delivering to, I'm picking something random here, delivering to like 100 people. But then there is also a need of the employee or the team member. So how do you balance that between the two to make sure that you are doing people's first, but then also not sacrificing the delivery of the purpose or programs that you have?
It's that trust, and it's having accountability and having regular check-ins and talking about goals and what they're accomplishing. And we when we measure something and we're able to build that momentum, we keep moving forward. So here we have so much momentum going forward. I mentioned we just implemented a caregivers night out.
Yep.
So we had somebody in the community donate a charcuterie board and had this beautiful spread for our caregivers one evening. And so I'll tell you about our staff, and it's just our staff that really makes a difference. We have our clubhouse and administrative manager. She started after I did, and she has the lens of finance, and she has that HR skill set. And then we have our development and communications manager. And if you have a minute, take a look at our social media. She is brilliant when it comes to social media. And then we have our events and volunteer manager. And this person came into the organization, and we has just went full force with different ideas and events like the caregivers night out. We have a walk coming up have you heard of Biff Naked from the 90s? No, she was like a 90s alternative kind of rock star, and she was touched with breast cancer, and we're having our first walk, and she's going to be providing a concert.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So he brought her in to do that, which is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And we also have our Sunday afternoons. So that event has been going on, I think, since the inception of Gilda's Club. And we have Matthew Good Band. So he's going to be performing at that event, and it's at a local celebrity's estate. So, he's got all this expertise that he's brought to the organization to make all these things happen. And we have a new program manager, and she comes with, her own family experience with cancer and enhancing the programming. So it's just, our team is just incredible, and continuing to build that momentum and have those check-ins and have those goals as we move forward.
Lana, I think you talk really high. You've spoken really highly of your team, and it sounds like almost your whole team is brand new. And now, what I wanted to ask is, either typically I jump to the things that's more tactical. So there must be a way to hire, either your screening questions are extraordinary, and your screening process or your conversation during the interview is extraordinary, or you have been extremely good at coaching your team members and explaining what you want to do. There is some secret there that I'm not picking up. Like, they are so successful. I think it's a mutual thing. In my world, it's a mutual thing. We're meeting
Mm-hmm.
their need, and uh, they are also meeting our need. But then there needs to be communication somewhere, or that's being communicated between you as the leader of the organization, enabling them to do all the work.
Well, it's really setting the goals. So,
Mm,
what are the goals of the organization? What's the vision?
mm,
And so, we are all looking to grow the organization, enhance that experience for members.
mm,
And so, we have our goals, and I have my check ins every other week with staff. So, we go through, you know, what you're doing, what you're working on, what can I help with? What can we help with as a team? How can we make these ideas happen and come to fruition? And everybody just rolls up their sleeves and we do it. And that's one question that I ask. And I got that from Pleo. When I was interviewed for my position at Pleo, the executive director at the time, she said that she was very protective of her team,
mm,
and as she should be, because of the type of people that were hired.
mm.
And, you know, what was my thought on rolling up my sleeves when something had to be done, like stuffing envelopes, something mundane that, you know, you're not necessarily hired to do. And that's what we have to do in the nonprofit sector many times, right? Is just get stuff done, and having the expectation that we're a team and we're all going to roll up our sleeves to get it done.
I love that question. I'm going to incorporate that question in my
Yeah,
next
it is,
hire.
it is a good question because I'll be honest, I did have a staff member at one time. You know, there's in the winter, there's salt on the floor where members are coming in, and it just doesn't look presentable. And so asking, you know, can you help clean up? And it was just, well, that's not my job. And it's just, well, it is, because it's everybody's job, because we're accountable to the members
Yeah.
and we want to make sure that they have the best experience. So no, it's not in your job description. But, you know, there is the expectation that you are part of this community and we're going to work together to make it the best that it can be.
I think that is such a great question, because everyone at some
Is it?
point, if you belong to the team, would have to roll up the sleeve and do whatever that needs to be done to get the things done. Because, for lack of better terms, stuff happens, and then so sometimes it's just helping each other out, and ultimately is
Yeah.
delivering the
Yeah.
purpose that we are meant to deliver.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And that's my mentality. You figure it out and you get it done, and you can rely on one another. And not everybody has the best days either. So, you know, somebody might not be having the best day, and we pick up where we can.
That's amazing. Well, Nana, I have taken up so much of your time, but I've learned so much, especially those
Oh,
interview questions and
yeah.
weekly and bi-weekly check-in, and connecting with the purpose of the organization also makes the job a lot more enjoyable than
Mhm.
it is. So thank you so much. Is there
Well,
any last word that you want to share with our audience?
Well, just a little bit of story that I want to share on. I talked about how Gilda's was founded, but I want to talk about how we got so fortunate to have the only physical location in Barrie. So we celebrated our 15th anniversary last year,
Mm,
and Gilda started. There was a lady in the community. She worked at Georgian College, and she was taking her friend to her cancer appointments,
yep.
her treatment appointments. And when her friend finished treatment, it felt like she was lost. She didn't know what to do, because for anyone who hasn't went through cancer, people think when you ring that bell,
Mm,
you should celebrate and you should be happy, because that's what we see on TV.
yep.
You know, you survived, you should be happy, and you are, and you're grateful. But there's so much that comes after that, because there's post-traumatic stress and coping with your body again. Your body's changed, your mind has changed, and everything has changed. So this lady in the community, she recognized that, and she wrote a business plan,
Mm,
and she took the business plan and she brought it to different people in the community. She brought it to a pharmacist. She brought it to a lawyer. And the lawyer who read it said, oh, well, that's a slam dunk. and partnered with her to make it happen, and some other people. And it took her 3 years to raise $3 million to build this 10,000 square foot clubhouse.
Wow.
And I owe a lot of gratitude to her, because I think we all have great ideas, but it was her tenacity that just kept moving forward. So yes. So when I started, I heard about her. She's in a retirement home right now. And I said, the first thing I'm going to do my first day is go and sit and have coffee with her and just let her know that she's passing the baton to me, and that I want to assure her that it's going to be in good hands, and how passionate I am about the mission.
Very noble, like the whole experience. It's quite an experience on its own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grateful to share it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. And yes, everyone can have ideas, and it takes some commitment to go through it, and then raise $3 million is no easy job.
Raising $3 million without having anything tangible.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just for the greater good of the society.
Yeah. And she, I try to go see her every other month and just give her updates and express gratitude on behalf of the members. And she is so humble and just so lovely.
That is such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes.
Highlight of my day. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so tough days, when there are tough days, we should always be reminded that there are like so many goods in the world that we can appreciate or come to appreciate.
Yeah, we really need to do that, don't we? There's so much going on in the world,
Absolutely.
and it's just those small moments. I met a gentleman who came in today, and he was talking about his wife's experience with cancer and just the importance of kindness.
Yeah.
And that's, I said that earlier, when people walk into this facility, I want them to find strength, kindness, and their sense of community.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Keep doing the great work. It's amazing.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's certainly a pleasure. My first podcast, so hopefully it went well.
Yeah, it went really, really well. Thank you so much for sharing all these special moments with us. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you.
As we wrap up, I want to share a bit more about what we do at Otis Financial Solutions. For the past 18 years, Otis Financial Solutions has been dedicated to enhancing the financial management and strategic planning capabilities of hundreds of associations and nonprofits across Canada. Our extensive experience has enabled us to deliver tailored financial solutions that drive growth and enhance sustainability for nonprofits and associations. If you are interested in learning more about how Otis Financial Solutions can support your organization, I would love to offer you a no obligation 20-minute call. Let's discuss your unique challenges and explore how we would be able to help you achieve your goals.